Back in the book segment tonight, it is hard to believe, but in the last 4 years, the Obama administration has borrowed more money than every other president combined. That's from George Washington through the first 5 months of Bush the Younger's administration. In fact, every day the U.S. government borrows an astonishing $3.3 billion, even on Sunday. So where's the money going? I asked Charles Krauthammer to analyze. When you think about this, it's staggering that in the last 4 years, the President of the United States, Barack Obama, has borrowed more money than every other president up until the first 5 months of W's term combined. Now, I know most people don't think about it. They don't think it's real money. You know, they think it's some kind of monopoly game. What is the President and Congress spending the money on?
Well, take an example, the stimulus, which is almost $1 trillion. That's one huge amount spent within a couple of years. It left not a trace. This is money that went to entitlements. This is money that went to food stamps. At the extreme and the trivial, it went to giving Sandra Fluck free contraceptives that she can't afford at $165,000 a year. She can't shell out $15 a month. That's at the ridiculous extreme. At the other extreme is what you've talked about, the huge increase in people on food stamps. The fact that Obama's own HHS is trying to loosen the rules, the work rules for welfare. So we go back to the old system of people living forever on the dole. That's where they want to spend the money.
Okay.
And they have to borrow it because we don't have it.
So the facts are the facts, that this country now is borrowing money that's what they call unsustainable. And what that means is that if we continue to do this, and it doesn't look like there are any red lights because the president doesn't want to cut anything. If he did, it would have been on the table already. He doesn't want to cut anything. So continue the spending. All right. So then we figure in a few years the dollar collapses. The U.S. dollar just collapses. Nobody wants it anymore anywhere in the world because it's not worth anything, because we owe so much money and we're printing so much money to pay the debt we owe because we can't get it from the wealthy. You can't get it from anybody. You have to print. That's the only way you can pay your debt. The dollar collapses and everybody's savings collapses. All our equities collapse. All our 401ks go down a drain. And there's going to be a physical, you think Greece is bad? Wait till you see what's going to happen here. That could very well happen in this country. Am I wrong?
Not at all. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight, but clearly at some point, and we know at that point is 90%, 100% ratio of debt to GDP. We're already under Obama over 70% of debt to GDP. When his term started, the ratio of debt to GDP was 44%. It's now about 73%. That's in 4 years.
Okay, but
that's
he doesn't seem to care. He sees the same stats that you see, that I see. He knows it. He knows what he's doing. Yet, when you present this to the Democratic Party, or even to the American people, who, by the way, voted for this. The American people voted for this. Barack Obama made no campaign promises that he would cut spending. None.
Right.
He didn't say he would rein in government. None. And yet the American people said, you know what? That's okay with us. You keep spending. You keep getting it up there, and we'll take our chances. Do you think most Americans understand this?
Not at all. And I think it's pretty easy to win elections when you give away candy that you borrow from the Chinese. And I think the reason Republicans lost is they didn't make the case. They didn't make the case that this is unsustainable.
So you didn't do what we did tonight. Mitt Romney never did. If he had made the economic case that we're making here tonight, that listen, all of your cash, all of your 401ks, all your equities, all of your bonds, it's all going to evaporate unless you stop the madness in Washington. You can't have a president in 4 years borrowing as much money as George Washington through W borrowed combined. It's impossible. It's crazy. You can't have it. If Mitt Romney had done that, he might have won, but he wouldn't or couldn't do it. Last word.
And you know, the irony is he did it in the first 7 minutes of the first debate, and that's what rocketed him to the head of the pack, to the lead in the campaign, and then he rested on his lead, and he was afraid to make that case. Look, I think if you explain to American people that you can't keep borrowing $1 trillion a year ad infinitum, you can win. We got to make that case, and I think that we can win. So I'm rather optimistic.